Hey Natalie, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you join Partner Ocean Strategy Podcast. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, Logan. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very excited for this podcast. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Lovely to hear that. Where are you hunkered down today?
Today, I am in San Francisco. It is a very beautiful weather outside. My work typically takes me on a lot of travel, so I think this is the longest I've actually been in a city for the last 3 weeks.
Is weather is treating you well in San Francisco at the moment?
Absolutely, absolutely. I am an East Coaster, a Canadian East Coaster at heart. So right now, everybody is piled up in a lot of snow. So I'm
Hmm.
very fortunate that I get the hiking mild temperatures of San Francisco here this week.
I envy you. I envy you, Natalie. I'm in the UK, not compared to cold weather in Canada, but I could use a little bit of warming session. So let's get warmed up a bit before we get started, okay? So what
Great.
we're gonna do is I'm going to ask you five rapid questions. You answer them without taking a second, right? So you just go answer. Do you wanna have a practice?
No, I think this is good if we're going to be spontaneous about it.
Okay.
You can either see I'm either very quick-witted or I need more coffee because it's morning time for me.
Okay, let me go then. What is your favorite food?
Favorite food would be top of mind. Because I'm Vietnamese, I'm gonna have to say pho.
Oh,
Staple. It's basic. It's staple. It reminds me of my grandma,
oh, nice.
but it has to be
Okay,
spicy.
has to be spicy. Okay.
Has to be
That's
spicy.
sriracha would work.
No, like I'm talking Carolina Reapers, like scorpion peppers,
Oh,
spicy. Yeah.
okay. How often do you change your hair color?
Oh, how often? Usually it would be once a quarter, so once every 3 months. But prior to this, I actually had to leave it for a pretty long time due to a girlfriend's wedding. But now that the wedding is over, you'll be seeing me in very vibrant colors for 2024 and beyond.
Nice. It's really good on you.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
What is your favorite company in the world?
Ooh, my mother's tailoring shop.
Oh,
Because she
okay.
is my favorite human in the world. And she's in her 70s now. Please, I hope she doesn't, I hope she hears this and she's proud that she's in her 70s and just started a new tailoring business, an alteration business. So she works extremely hard. And she's my inspiration and my
Hmm.
mentor. And I hope to be as fit and as hardworking as she is at that age. So I would have to say her company and all the companies that she's been CEO
Oh, I love that. I love the story. I love the answer. That's great. If you are not being in a partnership or channel sales world, what would you do?
of. Top of mind, I would say something on the creative side. If the creative industry can support me as much as the sales industry, I would say somewhere along the lines of being a yoga teacher or a
Hmm.
dance instructor, because
Okay.
I used to dance and teach yoga.
Nice. Nice. Okay. Last one. You have to be really, really quick
Okay,
on your answer. Okay. What's the name of your favorite podcaster?
Logan, you.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. That absolutely warmed my heart a bit. So
You're
it works. This warm up
you're
session totally
fantastic.
works.
You're fantastic, and I think you're a great conversationalist. And the podcast, I feel like it's a really great fit for you. You're creative, you're ingenious, and I just love listening to you talk, and I love conversing with you. So top of my list.
Thank you so much. It was a warm up session for my guest, but actually, because of you, Natalie, you warmed my heart a bit. So love that. Thank you for that. Let's get dive in. Could you share a bit about your background and how you found yourself in this partnership world?
Yeah, interesting trajectory. I think when you grow up in school and you're studying, not too sure how many people say like, I want to do channel partnerships when I grow up. But it's definitely a skill that you develop over the years. I myself, I actually have a science background. Started off in pharmaceutical sales. I worked in hospitality, so on and so forth. I put myself through school, became a dance teacher, put myself through school, and I realized that I'm extroverted in the sense of I love talking to people. I love learning
Mm,
about their business, and I love being able to think strategically to be able to help them grow their business. So I was in pharmaceutical sales. Did a lot of direct sales in my lifetime, more years than I care to admit. And uh, and then when a company, a medical, a med tech company that I worked for, decided that they wanted to expand their direct sales business into channels, I took on that role and realized that it was actually a really good fit for me. When you're doing direct sales, you're dealing, B2C or B2B. It's a lot of lift. It is a lot of work, for, I would say, somewhat the same reward. Discovering channel partnerships over the last decade, coming to realize that you can actually expand your network, and be that accelerator, by leveraging channel partnerships, such as like the distributor reseller network and ISVs and GSIs, or even like a referral network. So you're able to be that optimizer for whichever company you're working at. You get to talk to a lot more people, and it becomes a very personal job in terms of like relationship building. You still have the best of both worlds, whereby you're still dealing with end customers or end clients, but then also really building a foundation for relationships within partnerships. So I really scaled that at the current company that I'm with, and wearing several hats here at Unity, or worn several hats here at Unity when I had first started to my journey now. I've definitely discovered that my skills lie in channels, and being able to expand it. Um, yeah, expand the company business through being the force multiplier for the company.
mm. Wow, I would say we hire you. Right. Natalie, I wonder, so you've been in the both world, meeting people, the customers directly in direct sales roles, and also being in channel role most recently, right? Have you ever felt I want to go back to direct sales world?
I mean, my brain is always going. So
Hmm.
yes, of course, the thought has crossed my mind, to be able to step back into the direct sales world. However, I think at this stage in my life, working in channel partnerships is definitely more of a right fit for myself, work life balance, and really what I want to get out of my career, and where I see myself in 5 to 10 years time. I think that for me now, knowing that I'm investing time in actually building out and scaling partnerships, you're not dealing one on one with yourself and an client. You're actually dealing with an organization, and that organization has like another 20 sales reps that are dealing with customers, right? So I think it's about being able to level up your skill set, to be able to sell through channels, versus having the direct control of being able to sell directly to an end customer. So now I find like the challenge that I love, is being able to take on sales, but via channel partners, because there's an added layer of complexity there, but it definitely keeps you on your toes, and it keeps you learning, and you're also meeting new people, and there's always different characters out there to be able to learn from. So it's definitely more of a fit for me.
Partner roles that life is depending on someone else because we are not selling directly to the customers. Maybe a little bit different skill set is needed between the direct sales and the indirect sales as a channel sales or channel partnership people. And you mentioned that a couple of the very important words like network and also like relationship, which we're gonna dive more in the later on. But before we dive, for our listeners who might be new to Unity, I mean, you and I know this company relatively well, but could you give us a brief overview of the company? What does Unity do?
Unity was actually forged in gaming. Started off as a gaming company designing, a game engine, really, within the gaming space, whereby it's a software that developers and creators can use to create gaming content. I would say over the last decade, I think different organizations have realized that the same product that you're using for game development can actually be used outside of gaming. So what that means is it's applicable for pretty much any end-to-end process or any end-to-end application that you're trying to design. So the editor or Unity software could be used for, retail, marketing, creating digital representations of anything. So like cities, airports, within manufacturing, you can use it for, VR, AR training. So everything now is being built by this one software. The company itself also expanded as well greatly. So, we have footprint and we have a consulting arm that actually creates all of these applications. We have, a whole other side of the business that does all of the support. So anything that any game that you design can be helped and supported. We through our success team, we actually have like a monetization side of Unity as well. So if you think about people that are designing games, we teach you, we have like a professional training arm of Unity that can teach you how to use Unity, and then you can go out and design your own game. And then there's another side of Unity that teaches you how to monetize your game and actually how to, teach you how to create revenue from your games. And so that's just on the gaming side of the house. On the industry of the side of the house, we have these digital twin projects and all these applications that we're building for cities, and then we're training people on how to use the software for industry so that they can actually go out and reinvest and contribute back to their regions or their economies. So in all, I think it's so hard to say, but Unity actually does everything. And it's like the one question that when people ask me, like, what is Unity? I hesitate because we do so much, and anything that you're envisioning, whether it be on like a PS5 console, a gaming console, on your mobile phone, or through any type of headset, or even on like a WebGL, anything that you want to do, anything that you want to design can actually be practically almost made with Unity.
All the missions you just mentioned, what part of the mission you are working on right now?
Presently,
Mm.
my hat, I actually lead our global ecosystem development practice at Unity. So essentially, what that means is that I work with strategic partners that have deep relationships, for example, with decision makers, either in private or public sectors, or they have like really strong industry influence, or industry expertise that are really crucial in cultivating like a Unity ecosystem. So really what that means is that we're tackling regions, to actually create a workforce that will be able to contribute or recontribute to society, so that people are kept within regions. So if you think about really basic example, if you think about an overseas foreign student coming to a different country, and they're being educated, let's say in Canada, and they want to learn about Unity, they can actually go through, a course in Unity to be able to get certified. We can provide digital twin applications that are built in Unity, and so in order for this city or this region to retain talent, we have to be able to create a workforce and create jobs. So it's all simultaneous, whereby we're creating the applications and we're creating the workforce through all the Unity courses. So my role is overlaid across all the different business units at Unity. So we're pulling in various teams to be able to help build out these ecosystems. And really, at the end of the day, these regions or these countries that actually are benefiting off of it, because everybody now is either trying to attract talent or retain talent, and the solution here is to be able to do it using Unity.
Hmm. Interesting. Let's talk about a little bit the concept of the partner program you're running for your partner ecosystem and Unity. So, in terms of industry or the type of business, who are your partners currently in your ecosystems?
Great question. It's quite unique in that our, very different than, if you were going to talk about an IPP, ideal partner profile for a distributor, or a, GSI, system integrator, global system integrator. So partner profiles, ideal partner profiles for the EDP practice, I would say would be people that actually have an extensive network with either CXOs at large organizations, or decision makers within government or private or public sectors, anywhere where Unity sales reps, for example, wouldn't actually have contacts with, or would not, clients that we would typically not win on our own. So basically leveraging our ecosystem partners to be able to get us in at the very top level. Anybody that's in sales understands that generating leads and actually getting to the right decision makers could be a very long time. I never negate the fact that SDR work, so sales development representatives, is the one that's like customer facing, and the ones that work really hard and are like the pillars and the staple of any type of organization. Because if you don't generate leads via marketing or whatever tools, then it's hard for people to sell things, because you need to generate those leads. So with the ecosystem practice, we're leveraging people with really great contacts and a really great Rolodex that can actually just get us in at the highest level. So therefore, it just expedites the sales cycle. And then once we get in at that level, we're able, myself, I'm able to round up the right people at Unity, come out with the strategy, come out with the return on investment, the economics, helping these regions paint a vision as to how they see their city or their country within 5 to 10 years time. Once we understand those challenges, we can actually reverse engineer that and be able to come up with a solution for them leveraging Unity. And so all of that is actually driven and help driven through our strategic partners that actually have those contacts. Additionally, with any sales company or any company whatsoever, you already have an existing book of business. So through the ecosystem practice, we're actually leveraging this network to be able to drive incremental revenue, or revisit dormant accounts where we actually haven't gotten a lot of traction before due to reasons X, Y, and Z.
Hmm. So sounds like if you have a ideal customer profile for your Unity business, and there are company or the people around the world who are already doing the business with those ideal profile of the customers, right? They
Mhm.
could be your ideal partner profile. I understand. That's good. That makes sense. I wonder though, how do you find those partners? How do you recruit the partners if they have that good, the list of the customers that you might want to touch base on, right? Then how do you start your relationship or even recruiting them?
Excellent question. I feel like I've been asked this very many times, and it's definitely, I think, at this point, not a luck of the draw. It takes, and what I was just mentioning earlier about SDRs being, pillars to any type of organization. I think within channels as well, when you talk about an ideal partner profile, it takes a lot of research. A lot of research. Number one, you need to understand, what is your channel strategy? What is the company's strategy? Let's start there. What is the company's strategy for this year? What's their 3-year plan? What's their 5-year plan? What's their 10-year vision, right? 10 years is a little bit out there, but it's good to understand, like, in terms of, like, when you talk to leadership, like, where do you see this company in 10 years? Where do you see this company in 5 years? So that way, when you understand the company's vision, you can actually craft out, your North Star for the year or 3-year plan or 5-year plan. So, having said that, if the company is really trying to target, let's say, emerging markets and developing countries, then we have to help identify, well, which regions, right? So if they say X, Y, and Z region, then okay, well, for me, for example, then I'll know to look out and search for ecosystem partners within that specific region that have the right contacts that will be able to help grow unity, at this in this city or in this country. You also have to do a lot of research for myself personally, because it is ecosystem development. Which regions, when you read that World Economic Forum, when you're tapped into Bloomberg, which regions are being heavily invested? How's the economy growing? Where is inflation happening? Is which countries are hitting a recession? What's the population of the country and trajectory within 5 to 10 years? Will this country have more population than this country? What is the age? What is the median age? What about job opportunities? So it's really studying the economy as a whole, aligning that with the company strategy and vision, and then being able to hone in and target people within that region or to have those contacts. That it takes a lot of research and reading a lot in biographies, a lot of people that do a lot of writing. I would say people that are really experienced in like delivering podcasts or TED Talks or whatnot, because those are the people that that will have a really great network that can actually get you introduced into the right people. Once you've done all of that research, which takes a really long time, once you're able to do all that research and you actually make contact with those people, then you actually have to understand if it's actually the right fit. Because, you can meet somebody and they have everything and all their credentials, and on paper they look really great for you. However, upon meeting them, maybe they're not as interested as you hope they would be. Maybe you didn't sell the program properly. Maybe they have 50 other things on their plate. So like, what are you competing with against their priorities? So then I think at this point too, it's 2024. I think now that the workforce is the younger generations are stepping into the workforce, and there's quite a big of a mind shift in terms of how we do business now versus the 1990s, for example. There has to be a lot of like relationship building and seeing, like characteristically and your personalities, is that going to be a right fit? Is this somebody that you're able to work with? Is this somebody that you want to be able to recruit? And more importantly, is this somebody that you want to represent your brand, right? I think we downplay the marketing side or the marketing aspects of things, but when we talk about channels is a, an external reflection of your company and of your product. And so you need to be able to recruit the right people, to be able to represent your brand. So very long-winded answer for you, but that's essentially the ecosystem process, that I run through every time I recruit a partner. People present partners to me all the time, but it takes a couple of conversations to actually vet to see if it's a good working relationship and work opportunity, because time is money, and resources are limited. There's only 24 hours in a day. So if you're going to build the right channel partners, it has to be definitely, it must be imperative that you're investing your time in the partners that see the mutual benefits from the partnership.
That's amazing. When you meet with a new partner, let's say, it's not only you to meet them, because now they are taking you as a partner as well. So it's not one-way relationship, it's two-way relationship, right? So you have to understand also at the same time you have to be the right partner for them. What's the process? How do you pitch your offer, the benefit of being in the ecosystem of Unity, being a partner of Unity? How do you normally do that?
First, I would start with talking about the company,
Mm,
because aside from offering my services as a partner manager, it starts with the company and being able to properly articulate the company's offerings, right? Because at the end of the day, if I'm researching somebody, I see the value that they can deliver for Unity, but they need to understand the value that Unity as a company is delivering for them, and how that fits into their narrative, and how that fits into their strategy and their 5-year plan. Usually if I'm working with individuals as ecosystem partners, or if I'm working with different organizations as my ecosystem partners, their mission and their goals need to align with what Unity is doing. So in this case, Unity, the my company, well, not my company, but the company I work for. So just making sure that there's alignment there, and making sure that they actually understand, what's on offer, and what the sell is and what the narrative is. So typically when I work with ecosystem partners, everybody understands that we're going out and we're delivering a full ecosystem. So it's not like a siloed product. I'm not going out there and just selling software. I'm not going out there and just selling consulting or professional services. It actually is a full ecosystem narrative whereby we are going to deliver applications, and learners are going to learn alongside Unity, and we're going to implement and start adding courses and curriculums into schools. And so thereby we're closing like the loop on building out a Unity ecosystem and developing like the talent workforce and retaining talent. So specifically to this ecosystem practice, that's the narrative. And when we talk to partners, does that align with what they're currently doing? Is this going to be an easy narrative for them to weave into their conversations with end customers? If so, and if they do see that alignment, then it's a good indicator that they're going to be a good fit. Because quite frankly, I get leads, inbound leads, for example, for people to want to join the ecosystem practice. However, they see the word ecosystem and they think it's flashy, or they don't have a great network, or they don't really understand Unity, and they just want to sign on to Unity to have it as another logo on their website to say like, hey, we're part of the Unity ecosystem. But really that it's great to have brand recognition, and to be plastered all over every single person's website, because obviously that helps get the brand out there. But I think in this niche partnership that I'm running, it needs to be very pointed, given the scale at which we're trying to get to, and then given the bandwidth that we have here as well.
Do you have any case to be able to share that?
Most recently, I can share the most recent case.
Mm.
I've been doing a lot of research in an emerging market that Unity wants to focus on in 2024. So number one, understanding the company's priorities and the regions that they want to be able to tackle. So once I determined what what the region was, I flipped it around and kind of tried to explore the market itself to understand, what the country's vision is. Are they more heavily focused in gaming? Are they more focused in digital twinning and industry? And then also trying to figure out if we currently have any competitors in that region as well, right? So going into an emerging market where Unity doesn't really have presence, we need to actually look at the region itself. Like, who are the decision makers? How are opportunities actually closed? Who are the major players? How long have they been in the region? And so once you're able to craft and define, what that criteria is, then I, did some research into who then are these organizations, or even influencers, evangelists, or people that are, that have the great networks, within this particular emerging tech market. Once I defined that, I was able to do a lot of LinkedIn research, to be able to track down the founder, the CEOs, CXOs, anybody that can get me to the right person. So I've connected with that person and that organization, explained what Unity does, got an understanding of, their business, how their business works, how for example, like government funded opportunities work for, and then seeing how they fit into that process and how well they understand the process. Once that was determined, we were able to team up Unity's vision, where there's like investment, or where Unity wants to invest versus theirs as well, which countries, kind of start a business plan essentially. Like, I don't want to say it's like a full out business plan because we haven't really like sign them at this point. But sitting down and kind of at a high level drafting out a business plan and seeing if there's like actual potential opportunities, if we can identify low hanging fruit to be able to tackle together. What resources would they need from Unity? Am I able to provide them with these resources? Because again, as a partnership, you need to be able to invest just like the partner needs to invest. So, seeing if we actually have the resources within that region to help support them, and then seeing, what type of resources and people they can actually dedicate towards Unity. Once that's all, agreed upon and defined, and we've talked about margins and so on and so forth, and everybody's really happy, on paper, financially, with the support, and you see the personalities as well. Like, is this a company that I want to have represent Unity in this region, because we're just breaking into this region. If you sign a partner that's really good and a right fit for Unity, fit for the brand, this is great, because then we've attached and associated ourselves and affiliated ourselves with a very reputable person or organization. So, once all of that has been hashed out, everybody's happy, then we'd actually go through the due diligence and all the paperwork and get them signed and get them onboarded, and, build that relationship. Face-to-face meetings are really great as well. And being able to be available, a lot initially at first, because when we all know, when we sign partners, the first couple of months of onboarding is, a lot of hand holding, and until our partners are able to venture out on their own. So yeah, I think this is, for me, that's one example of how I've been able to recruit and sign the partners, and been able to maintain the partnership. So, which has been very successful thus far.
That's fantastic, Natalie. Thank you for that, because now I can see that your recruitment process is very hands-on. It almost sounds like you are headhunting somebody, right? So you research the market and the partner profile, I mean potential partners profile really, really well, even before you reach out to them. Some people think channel people doesn't do any cold email, but you just confirm that you use LinkedIn a lot, and you reach out to them like very hands on. It sounds like your recruitment process is very targeted.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think wearing the distributor reseller hat to managing GSIs and ISVs, to, now moving to ecosystem development, I think I've worn pretty much all the hats under channels. And I say that there's, the nuances is very, very different in the sense of, like in the reseller distributor model, you're casting a wide net and you're thinking high volume. If I can get as many resellers as part of my ecosystem, we're just going to chance it. And this is how we're going to drive revenue through with a high volume of resellers. Or, if a distributor has like their network of like thousands of resellers, this is how we're going to scale, to scale the practice. I think it works, in some instances it definitely works, especially in like when you're in like the distributor reseller world. You have thousands of resellers. If every reseller sold one product a day, you've got 3,000, 6,000 resellers selling your product. Amazing. That is fantastic. It's high volume transactions are great. Sales cycle is extremely low. So that's more of the transactional, like license sales, I would say. GSIs, ISVs, a lot more hand holding. They need to understand the product. You need to recruit the right people that actually know how to use your product so they can build on top of it, or, incorporate it into their product and reselling. And then for ecosystem development, the sales cycles are like very long, because we're working, if you you know we're working with government, we're working with RFPs, tenders, we're bidding on things, where we're getting, it's a larger amount of money. The opportunity size is much larger, the sales cycle is much longer. There's a lot more consultative selling and strategic selling involved in ecosystem development. But because it actually leverages, different all these different components within a region. So you think about looping in a university, you're thinking about internships, you're thinking about all the local companies that are actually using Unity. Where do we place them for jobs afterwards? And then you have to think about, okay, well, then how are we going to help this region find funding for this? And so, where are the grants? How are the opportunities? Who's going to write this? Is there a proposal writer? Who's the technical writer? So it's actually a larger scale type of practice, but the reward at the end is really great because the opportunity and the deal size is much larger.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you almost propose the new need sometimes, right? Rather than here's our product license. How many of them do you like to have? You go 100, you go 1,000. It's not like that, and that is really helpful because some of my listeners are startup sales leaders who are still in a way struggling to find the right product market fit, but at the same time they want to develop more of the go-to-market way. They are thinking partner program is needed, but sometimes just going with the well-known name of the distributors and resellers are not really the way that works for them.
I just wanted to add to that. Like, I think also the difference when you think about the different types of channel partner types within ecosystem development, because it's very pointed, and you're right, it's like headhunting. It's because we're going out there and we're actually creating the customer versus, I would say, within like the distributor reseller network, someone or an end customer organization is going to a reseller or distributor because they know they need a Unity license because somebody's developing on it, or people went to school and know how to use Unity, and that's their software of choice. So the customer is already there, they know that there's a need for it, so they're going in and they're purchasing, and acquiring these licenses. GSIs, ISVs, if you find the right partners, they already know how to use Unity. So they're building, either incorporating Unity into their software because they have a ton of Unity developers. GSIs, they're leveraging the Unity technology, adding their services to it as well. In ecosystem development, we're leveraging strategic partners to go into regions to be able to create the customer. So the city, for example, will say, hey, I've heard in 10 years' time, digital twinning of a smart city is going to be the next thing. It's going to reduce, it's going to be better for operational efficiency. Everybody is big on being net zero. So we hear that digital twinning is going to be the great thing. So the role of an ecosystem partner is more or less coming in there and saying, hey, we know that you need this, but we're going to actually tell you, here are the reasons why you need it, and actually formulate the customer, like create the customer, create the narrative, understand what their challenges are, so that we can actually deliver at Unity all of the pieces that's going to help this economy grow, and lean into digital twinning so that they're at the forefront of this technology in 10 years time. This is why I stress understand companies' visions, your partner's vision, and the end customer's vision, so that you can drive for alignment there. And I think that's what makes a really great practice. It makes great recruiting, and you're actually also identifying great customers that are good fit for your products and services.
I love that you mentioned create a customer. I think that is such a difference. Not just tapping into the potential buyer already exists in the market. It's almost like create a customer, which means create the new users, create the new market, right? Good reference, I think, for my listeners who are starting this, partner program in their business if they are startup.
Yeah, I would say as well. I think like coming, because I've done the channel business at startups, for examples, and then now at larger tech companies. And I would say for the startup market, I think the one thing, and looking back, like hindsight's 2020, I worked at that company first in direct sales, and then switching over to channels once the company got acquired. But I think now, upon reflection, channels is just so vital to the growth of a company. And, warranted, you need to actually prove out their sales and, that there's a right product fit for the market. And so typically you'll start with direct sales. But I would say, like, coming from startup world, like, as soon as you can put together a channel to actually scale the business, once you get that narrative and you actually understand the right product market fit, you understand, what the customer base is, start that channel business as soon as you can, because you want to start scaling, like, in tandem, so that you're growing, like, the direct sales and the indirect sales strategy together. Because as soon as you run direct sales and then you incorporate indirect sales, like channel business later on, there could be like friction between sales reps, or the narrative is not aligned, and so it's harder to drive for alignment when a channel business is started 10 years after a company's been around, versus starting it when you're actually starting your startup, or you're still at the genesis of that point. So, life lessons.
That is such a great point. Many companies are thinking channel business is something that they can add on later. Even though they are trying to make a product market fit, why don't they start channel business earlier to define their market? Like you do, create your new customer with your ecosystem partners. That's such a great point, Natalie. Mm.
Yeah, I think also because we like working in software sales, or like even in product, right? Every product manager is looking for customer feedback, for example, to help, with fixes, or creating a new product, or updating their products. And so being able to leverage channels in order to do that, let's say you have, like, a reseller relationship, and you have a really good, relationship with that reseller, you have access to an additional 20 sales reps from that company that can actually help, drive conversations towards your product manager, so that they can actually figure out, and be boots on the ground to actually get in contact with end users. So I think there's, like, definitely different ways of leveraging the channels, especially when, at the early stages of building out a startup, not just obviously like for revenue and for sales, but then also if you're doing market research, for example, that's a really good opportunity to leverage these relationships for market research, for marketing as well. In a startup, there's one or two marketing people that they can only do so much. When you lean into channels, you have like an extended marketing team that can help you with the marketing, that are doing the conferences. So you're now just reducing the cost of operations from your side and leaning it more into channels. And all of that is built through, the right ideal partner profile, being able to develop those relationships and having those key relationships. In addition to having, like, if you want to have direct sales reps, for sure, enterprise sales, if they've already figured out, what the product is, and how, who the end customers are, and even if you can expand it, and it's like a niche market, then that you can expand your channels now, and leverage them, and offload, operational costs over to the channel partners.
That's a great point, and which is very much needed for early stage of the business, like startups. After you recruit the right partner, how's your enablement process work?
Reversing myself back a couple of years and wearing the reseller hat, sales enablement really entailed, like, being very hands-on with the sales reps, because I think at the end of the day, when you're coming from a reseller world, the organization has like a catalog of like 3,000 products. What makes you different, and what makes Unity different to be top of mind for them when they're going out and selling products, when they've been accustomed to selling Dell computers for the last 20 years, right? So how do you change that narrative? And it's really about sales enablement, but also developing that relationship, not just with like the your point of contact at the company, but with every single sales rep. So they're like, hey, I remember Natalie. I know she represents Unity. Somebody said the word real-time 3D. I'm going to pitch them Unity, but they need to know what Unity is. They need to know if Unity is actually the right product, or if it's just they thought of real-time 3D and it triggered the word Unity, right? So we need to train the sales reps on from the resellers on what Unity is, understanding when it's the right fit, understanding what the customer profile is, and making sure that it's that you're top of mind and your company is top of mind. And I think now, 2023, 2024, it's all about relationship building, right? Like, so you can just be another company if everyone's giving out the same margins and your product points are similar. Then what separates you from your competitor for the channel partner to actually push your product over somebody else's? And it's really from the top down. Leadership at the company needs to say, hey, sell Unity, but then Unity needs to come in and say, hi, do you remember us? This is what we're doing. This is the support that we're giving. This is the relationship that we have. Like, go sell Unity.
So the relationship is key. Yesterday and tomorrow, we will still say it's people business. And you mentioned a couple of tactics there, like leadership alignment is really key. You have to align with the company's vision and the mission, and also the face time, make them go sell. What else would you do? Make the relationship better and stronger. What is your secret sauce there, Natalie?
Secret sauce. Well, I think at the beginning of this podcast, I had mentioned to you that in my journey from direct to channel sales, and what I like about it, it's I love understanding people, and I love interacting with people. Taking that and applying it to relationships, like reseller relationships, for example, and working with sales reps. You're in sales because you want to make money. You're in sales because you're revenue driven. I don't know very many salespeople that are like, "Hey, I'm in sales, but not really, motivated by targets or anything like that." I would say you're in sales because it's a motivator. So understanding salespeople's motivation, it could be, "Hey, I'm motivated to sell because I want to buy a new car." Or I want to support my family, but really getting in touch with like the core essence of why people are doing what they're doing and building relationships that way. Because foundationally, I think as soon as you get more personal with people, they'll understand that, hey, you're not looking at me as just a dollar figure, right? And I think in business, like we've been completely conditioned, like, man, over whenever they invented sales, I guess, that everybody's like a walking dollar sign, right? And now again, I think I've been in the industry this long where I've seen that generational shift where, people are more, they want to stick to a company because they feel very valued and appreciated. And as soon as you start looking at people like their numbers or a castaway, the motivation for people to want to be able to like sincerely help you out, or even like drive for the right goals, it completely diminishes. So I think now reshaping the way that we approach sales, I find it's the same way. Stop looking at people like they're a dollar sign. It'll come, like the revenue will come, but you need to actually build that foundation for success, whether it be understanding people's motivations, whether, and if it is motivation, if it's just money and they only want to talk about money, that's completely fine too. But really, like taking the time to actually understand people, because everybody is human, and at the end of the day, we're not AI bots. Like pushing for software sales or whatever the case may be. It's like we're human beings behind the phones, behind these emails. They're real people writing back to you. They have day-to-day problems and day-to-day struggles too. So as soon as you kind of reframe that way of thinking, it just makes for better sales relationships.
Being human being, right? So
Yeah.
that's yeah, that's really great point. When partner program really works, there would be, like you said, motivation has to be there. And I also think that there would be this momentum to go together. And then the last piece of this M, because I like, framework so much, you know that, Natalie. So my last M of this, 3M is monetization, right? Even though we are talking about this is all about human people business, but still this is business and business relationship, right? So in a partner program, there has to be monetary value to share with your partner. Some of my audience might feel that they wouldn't know where to start of this percentage of share or the back commission or whatever they have revenue share model in their partner program. So sometimes the new partner managers, they got this challenge as that, Logan, we are trying to have this new ecosystem partner. Is that normally 20%? Is that normally 25%? So I always say there is no normal, and you should work out the right percentage for your ideal partner profile to really appreciate and then go work with you, right?
I really like what you said here, though, about being able to create your, like your own back end margins and rebate program and all of that, because it's not a one size fit all, which I think a lot now I see it in the industry where. If somebody's trying to spin up like a new channel program, they'll look into it and they'll look online and do some research like, hey, what is Red Hat doing? What's Autodesk's channel partner program? Like what are their rebates, what are their margins, and trying to like mimic it or copy it. But it definitely is not like a one size fit all, because every software or every product or every organization is different, and it's really what you can financially be able to give away and still have profitable margins and be able to see your organization grow. And as the organization grows, either you give away more margins to be able to see it expand and really invest in that channel, or you dial it back, and now it's really about being able to like hone in on what you're doing, and you're like beyond the scaling point. But I feel like not everybody's at that beyond scaling point. Every company right now needs to wants to scale, especially if you're a startup, right? So completely agree with you on that, and setting margins that are a good fit for your company.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thanks, Natalie. There are lots of more questions I want to ask, but I know we have almost the time. So, for our listeners, in this Partner Ocean Strategy podcast, considering like adopting a new partnership strategy or building a new partner program, especially from the company whose brand is not really out there, right? What advice would you give them as they embark on their partnership journey, partner program journey, let's say?
I would say starting off, and typically coming from from the startup world, usually founders or CEOs are the evangelists, and it's their passion project, their baby. They've gotten off the ground, and CEOs and founders could be really great at one thing, doesn't make them great at something else. So keeping that in mind when you lean into channels, I would say the first and foremost, is being a good channel leader. And if you don't have a good channel leader, find one because leaders breed great reps, great partner managers, and everything. I think now I've come to realize over the years that if you don't have a great driver and a great leader, you're not setting yourself up for success, because people stick around because they have great managers, right? You could be selling candy, for example. But as long as you have a great leader and a great support system, that will set the tone for where you want your company to be at, the level, what you're striving for. A great leader will be able to provide you with a good sense of direction, and being able to know where to pull in pieces and people to help build the channel business. So that's number one, leadership. Ensure that you have really great leadership, that everybody is transparent, everybody is there to help each other, and you have the same strategic vision. After that, I would say if you're thinking about leaning into growing channels, what is the product that you're selling? Is it software? Is it hardware? Is it a service? Like, what are you actually selling? Evaluate that, figure out what the right market fit is, and then really do your research on the partners that you want to recruit for your ecosystem. Ensure that there is a good IPP there, partner profile, for your channel partners, and then go after them. And just remember that channels, depending on which channel partner type you're leading, but I would say underlining everything is relationship based. I think where we've gone through COVID, we have gone through the world's gone through so much that now with like the new generations coming into sales and people retiring, I think now it's like really the time to lean into to building better relationships with people. And then I think after that, I think revenue is gonna flow if you have that foundation or those pillars.
Definitely. I would ask you, what is the most important one word in, building successful partner program? But I think I know the answer. You say relationship. But also you emphasize having a good channel leader is important. Is there anything else that you want to add, about the relationship?
I mean, you and I have a great relationship, Logan. I'm really thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I think foundationally, you and I have built a really great relationships, working relationship and outside of work relationship over the years, and it's something that I definitely value. It's carried over from work and now into the personal life, and you're a really good example of being a great leader. So yeah, I think I that's my last thing I'm going to leave here. So everybody, listen to Logan's podcast.
Oh, that's fantastic. I have to make that as our jingle or something, our jingle or something. So you made me really happy today, Natalie. From the beginning, you mentioned that my name as your favorite podcaster. Um, Complete transparency, I didn't ask this question before this podcast recording. It's really heartwarming, and I really appreciate we've been working together. That was a great experience of my career, and also we are being in this relationship in this professional world. Really appreciate it. So thank you so much, Natalie. What are your next steps in the partner world? Where should we find you?
Physically, I will be in New Zealand and Australia this coming weekend, and
Nice.
for a couple weeks, and then my work will take me over to Asia. I would say for like a month in March, and then after that, I'm not sure. Wherever my partners take me. So lots of business to be had in that world, and it's really good when I get to travel with my partners as well, because you build that personal relationship as well. So it helps them, motivate them, and you kind of understand, people's lives, and they become more than just a partner. So
I love that. You at least you know the destination where you go, and what would happen in there is all the surprise. So I'm a little bit of surprise we needed. I wish you the best there.
thank you so much, Logan. You as well. Good luck with this podcast. I know that it's going to be thriving. I can't wait to see it number one on my Spotify list. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you so much, Natalie.
Chat soon. Bye.